Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel, Duncan the Collector. Welcome to my third video and my second review. Today's special because we're reviewing two dinosaurs instead of one. We're reviewing the Dino Escape Slash and Battle Scorpius Rex and Roar Attack Ankylosaurus Bumpy. So let's start with Bumpy's packaging. Bumpy's got the same Dino Escape packaging we all know and love. And with the Roar Attack figures, you get this 3-level of sound. You get the sound marker, and the Netflix logo. Then you get the Camp Cretaceous logo, Toro the Carnotaurus, Darius, the Dino Escape logo, the name, Ankylosaurus Bumpy, and again, the 3 sound feature. The top has yet another Camp Cretaceous logo, and the left side has another Camp Cretaceous logo. The right side has yet another Camp Cretaceous logo with Blue, Ben, and Sammy, along with a Dino Escape logo. Now let's look at the back. The back of the box shows the Mattel logo, some more Roar Attack figures, the Dino Escape logo, a picture of Bumpy, and yet again the 3 sound feature, along with a sound marker, and another Camp Cretaceous logo. Not sure why we need 5 logos. Anyways, let's go to Scorpius's box. Scorpius has the exact same packaging, so I'm not going to go into too much depth. You got the name, then a picture of the tail strike, the slash action, and the roar. Then the back of the box shows a Herrerasaurus, some more dinosaurs, and I actually do have the Zuniceratops and the Herrerasaurus, which might be my next review. You got the roar feature again, the slash feature, and this tail strike. These guys look great together. They'll both be great for photos. Just imagine having all the characters with Scorpius stalking them and Bumpy defending them. That reminds me, I hope someday that Mattel makes the Camp Cretaceous 6x6 truck. And let me know down in the comments below what your favorite Jurassic vehicle has been. Bumpy looks great, just like she does in the show. Scorpius looks less accurate, but that may have been hard for Mattel to recreate it, as Scorpius' size and appearance has changed drastically throughout the show's run. That's really inconsistent, and I think Netflix could have done a better job. It reminds me of the 90s X-Men cartoon with the Sentinel. It could be anywhere from 30 feet tall to 100 feet tall. Now I've already cut the ties, so let's get Bumpy out of the box. Boop. Now apparently we got Super Bumpy here, but let's get her so she can stand. Bam. Now let's take a closer look at this figure and take a look at the paint. Let's start with Bumpy's eyes. Bumpy's eyes are simple, but almost too simple. There's no gloss on them, so there's no shimmer, no shine. She just kind of looks dead inside. They're also not very detailed. It's basically just a red dot with a smaller black dot on them. Fortunately, Bumpy's painted in this really nice light blue color, which is on her head, back, tail, the tops of her legs, and the underside of her spikes. Bumpy's beak, horns, and club are painted in the soft gray, and Bumpy's spikes, osteoderms, which are the small bony plates on her back, are molded in an even lighter gray. Her toenails unfortunately aren't painted, but that's alright, because she's mostly molded in this really nice tan color, and there's the code if you'd like it. Now let's look at Bumpy's sculpt. Bumpy's main body is a complete retool of the original Ankylosaurus body, but let's still go over it. Bumpy's back has lots of nice texturing and scaling work done to it. There also seems to be a hole in her back, but it's actually the push tab for her action feature. Her osteoderms and spikes look nice with lots of grain to them. Her tail is also really nice with more texturing, scaling, and little osteoderms. Her club is really cool. I like how it looks super stony and very rock solid. Bumpy's head looks even better. You can clearly see her underdeveloped horn and lots of nice scales and bumps on her forehead. Her beak is also nicely done with lots of grains to that too. Her underside has lots of wrinkling, scaling, and texturing. So do her legs. And there's the QR code if you'd like it. Now, let's look at Bumpy's articulation. Bumpy's head can move pretty far up and down, and Bumpy can do a full exorcist. Unfortunately, Bumpy's head cannot move very far left or right. Bumpy's legs have very limited motion, only being able to move at the hips. And Bumpy's tail can move only in one direction, but it does not stay as it is tied to the action feature. So let's look at that action feature. Now you may notice this little tab on Bumpy's back. If you push it a little bit, her tail barely moves and you get a small roar. Push it again, her tail moves even more and you get a bigger roar. And finally, push it one more time and you get a really big roar and a club swing. And if you do this back and forth real quick, you get a wagging tail. This is a funny action, as if you've seen Camp Cretaceous, you would know that Bumpy acts like a well-trained dog.
Hey, back round, boy. Good. Run, yep. Bring him around. We're gonna. There we go. See, hey, come on, turn around, come back through, right. Right, there it is, good call. That'll loop.
Now, let's do some comparisons. Let's start with Baby Bumpy. Baby Bumpy is really cute. She is pretty animated looking, but she is from a cartoon. You can kind of see that her horn is undergrown, but not as much as the adult Bumpy. At the end of the day, she is just a plastic figure, but her tail does move, so that's pretty nice. Now, let's move on to Teenage Bumpy. Now here you can really see the animated parts coming in. Huh? The colors do closely match, and you can see the undergrown horn quite a bit more. This figure has more movement than Baby Bumpy, of course, with the legs, tail, and head. Now finally, let's look at the adult Ankylosaurus. This is the first version that they ever made. This is more close to the movie than anything, but it's you can really see that it's the same sculpt. Now the head is a complete different sculpt, as you can see. The horns are a lot smaller and shorter, and the head is quite a bit shorter too. Bumpy has a very long head in comparison. Now, let's take these guys away to make some room for our main event. Make way, folks. Here comes the slash and battle Scorpius Rex. Now, I already pre-cut the ties, so let's get this guy out of the box and take a closer look. Boop. Now, as per usual, let's start with the paint. Scorpius is primarily cast in this dark grayish blue color that goes all throughout the body. And it may be hard to see, but there's lots of little white speckles all throughout it. Now let's look at the nails. The fingernails, toenails, and dew claws aren't painted, but these little claws on the back of the legs, which I believe are called the tarsals, are painted in the shiny gunmetal gray. There is a lot of this black highlight which starts at the tail and goes all throughout the body right to the face. The eyes look really good compared to Bumpy's, as there is gloss on them, giving them that little shine. As long with the paint on there, it looks very fierce, and you can tell this is a predator. The teeth are cast just like the T-Rex, and they look good. There's a little bit where they could have painted pink to make it look more individual, but they didn't, so it looks like a weird four-pronged tooth. The tongue is nicely molded with dark pink, and the underbelly is also nicely painted and molded in this dark mustardy yellow color. And there's the code if you'd like it. Now that we have the paint done, let's look at the sculpt. Let's throw Scorpius's tail. On the tail, we can see tons of poisonous quills, which is very show accurate. Along with the tail, we can see lots of scaling and texturing with these bony ridges starting to form. On the back of the figure, we can see these bony ridges being more predominant, with lots more scaling and texturing on the rest of the body, along with these malformed scales or tumorous growths.
It's not a tumor.
You can see these in the show, and it makes me think that maybe that the Scorpius was both physically and mentally ill. The head looks great too, with lots of texturing, with scales, spikes, and lots of bone structure. You can see the bony ridges ending here. The teeth look really gnarly and gross, which is very cool. You can also see lots of scaling on the lower jaw, and the tongue has also some pretty good detail, with the tongue having its own taste buds. Now, let's go on to the legs and arms. We can already see that the legs and arms have very much muscles on them, which is very inaccurate to the show compared to Mr. Toothpick arms and chicken legs. We can see more of the tumorous growths or malformed scales on the legs, along with nice muscle tone on the calves. Unfortunately, something on the toes is they don't have the nice scaling like the T-Rex has. Overall, the nails look good, but no grain to them either. The arms here look really good with tons of muscles and the nice quills on them too. The fingers are really beefy. He has sausage fingers, or as John Hammond would say,
You have butterfingers?
the nails look basically like the toenails, so not too much detail, but otherwise this figure looks great. Now, let's look at the articulation of this figure. Starting with the neck is on a ball joint so you can move in almost any direction, which is really nice. The jaw can open, but does not stay in place as it's tied to the action feature. Same thing with the arms. There is articulation in the shoulder and elbows, but they are tied to an action feature, so they do not stay in place. The legs have a wide range of movement, with the hips being able to go in and out, and the legs having very far range of movement from forward and backward. The tail has also some articulation, but like the arms and head, it doesn't stay in place. It's tied to a spring action, so it moves back and forth. It's like Bumpy's tail, but it goes in both directions. Now, let's go into the play features. Pressing this button activates the jaw, which gives you the roar and chomp feature. Activating this button will make the slash feature work. But to me, it doesn't look so much like a battle slash as it does Dance Dance Revolution.
So, you think you can dance? Yeah. Say what? Bravo, bravo. Bravo.
Now let's compare Scorpius Rex to some of his hybrid Indo cousins, starting with Indoraptor. Right off the bat, we can see these figures are fairly similar sizes, but Scorpius has taller legs, keeping his back up higher. But Indoraptor has a longer neck, keeping his head up basically the same size. We can see that Indoraptor is a lot slimmer compared to the much more beefy Scorpius Rex. We can also see Indoraptor is quite a bit longer, especially if you extend the neck out. Now let's get Indominus Rex out here. This figure is a beast compared to them. She could easily take these two out with her sheer mass and power. But these figures look great together, and although they weren't coexisting in the same time, I would love to get some photos of these three, both fighting and hunting together. Now here are my final thoughts. I think overall, Bumpy is a fantastic figure and I would highly recommend her. She works perfectly if you'd like a bigger Ankylosaurus herd or if you just like Bumpy. She would also fill out that age gap of Bumpy. My only complaint with the figure is the push tab gives Bumpy a really big hole in her back. It would have been nice if Mattel could maybe put it underneath the figure or made it less obvious. This figure is a standard price of $25, but I think overall this figure is great and a must-have for any Bumpy fan or just Jurassic collector as a whole. Now, let's talk about Scorpius Rex. I think overall this figure is great too. It's got a really good size and I love the paint and it looks really fierce and aggressive. Unfortunately, this figure does suffer from some small flaws though. Like, it has 3 fingers, when in the show it has 4, it doesn't have any paint on the nails, it's missing all the quills on its neck, and the teeth don't have any separation by paint or mold, so they have these really weird 4-pronged teeth. This figure is also a bit small for the $40 Canadian price range. However, I still recommend this figure as any Jurassic collector needs an E750 in their collection. One thing I wanted to add is, as of now, there's 2 Scorpiuses available. This version, and there's a Danger Pack variant, which comes with a Gyrosphere and Kenji. It's a lot smaller and a lot greener. It does have better articulation than this version, but it doesn't have any sound features. I don't know why, but Mattel and especially Netflix haven't been able to make this dinosaur consistent. And if I can be consistent, they should be able to too. Alright, that's it for now. Make sure if you enjoyed this video to press the like and subscribe buttons, and if you didn't, make sure to press the dislike and unsubscribe buttons. If you like toy photography, make sure to follow me on Instagram, and stay tuned to the end of the video to see some photos of these guys in the wild. Bye for now, and have fun collecting!